This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, it's Alex. It's the Ramble. We're until midnight tonight from the East Coast of the United States. From New York, New York. The city's so nice they named it twice. Okay, yeah, you heard that one before. How are you? Good to see you. Nice to see you hanging out here and hanging in on our little program. We go until midnight tonight, and my eyes have been burning up a storm today. And then my nose has been dripping, and if I didn't know it, I think I had COVID, but I don't. So it's just like I don't know, my eyes just with this, they burn like crazy. I don't know, we'll see. If this eye thing helps. I don't know if it will or not. Not for that. Doesn't help with allergies, folks. But what we do on this program is we usually on Thursday we've been talking to somebody we like talking to, and we feel it's important for him to be on the program. So we found a way of getting him to come back and love us once again. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Robert Natale. Hello, Robert.
Hello, Alex. How are you?
How are you? Talk a little
Good.
louder. Can you turn your mic up at all? You can. I guess you can.
What is it?
Can you
I'm
turn
sorry.
up your microphone a little bit?
Sure. Is that better?
A little more.
How's that?
Yeah, that's fine. That's good.
Okay, great.
Anyway, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
What's new in your life?
Had a colonoscopy and endoscopy this morning.
Wait a minute, both?
Yes. My doctor does it where he shakes hands in the middle.
Well, no, what I often thought is what I wanted to get was an endoscopy and a cystoscopy at the same time, along with a cystoscopy.
There you go.
Which goes up your penis, and then get all of them to see if they can see each other.
Yeah. I always tell him to shake hands in the middle somewhere.
Yeah. Why do you? Well, I guess it's not a bad idea to do it all in one time. I guess because you're out and
I always tease him. I have some knee and back issues. I always tease him. Listen, while I'm under, why don't you just put me on the rack and get it all done? Do an oil change while you're at it.
Yeah. Did they find anything? Is everything okay with you?
Everything is okay. I have some ongoing difficulties. Have had for a while. Don't want to get into it too much. I don't like to give voice to illnesses, but suffice to say, we're on the right track.
Oh, okay. But I mean, did the colonoscopy come out okay?
Yes, overall.
Yeah,
there are ongoing difficulties, but yes.
I see. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out what area. See, yeah.
What area the difficulties are?
If it were in your if you got your gastro, they go into look at your esophagus with a what do you call it? Oscopy? The endoscopy. And in that case, they're looking for, I guess, they looked for erosion.
Inflammation. Esophageal difficulties because of maybe GERD or excess acid.
If you have a lot of GERD, gastro something reflux disorder or whatever, like you bring up acid a lot. Okay, that could be a precursor to esophageal cancer.
Yes,
Which a friend of mine died of, and I think that she died of it because she didn't do anything about it.
I'm in a position where I'm prescribed to take this test once a year. Because there have been some scary moments in the past, and so just as as a prophylactic measure, we do it once a year.
Do you take here we are once again, Alex Bennett's waiting room.
Yes.
They give you stuff to help with the gastrointestinal industrial reflux.
Well, that's all, folks.
Do they give you?
Yes, and frankly, it's been mostly ineffective for a long time.
Oh, really?
So
Oh, okay.
we're changing course of action.
Because what I've done over the years is I've taken prophylactically Prilosec, or I call it Folosec because there's a generic version of it at Costco that's much cheaper than Prilosec, and I take it every day, so that I prevent that acid reflux, and I haven't had acid reflux as a result. I'm very lucky that way.
Right.
And so far as my colonoscopies are concerned, my doctor, I think, felt now at my age I don't need them anymore.
Well, that's good.
Well, because and this is the depressing thing, folks, about getting older. Okay,
Yeah.
They feel that if they found polyps now, it would take 10 years for them to become dangerous,
Yeah.
and that I'll probably be dead before that. That's their philosophy.
Yeah. They're pretty much giving up on you.
They don't know me. I have no plans to go anywhere. Because I was watching a documentary tonight on us going to Mars and when we're going to do it and how long it's going to take us to build cities there and things like that. And it said that by 2026 they plan to land the first 5 starships there to start colonizing the planet.
Yeah.
Now, I think I can make it to then. I'll be 86.
There
I
you
think
go.
I can make it.
I'm sure you will be.
Well, I don't know. I'm just getting I'm so tired every day.
You know, my grandmother in Italian used to say, "Those that complain live forever."
That could be.
You got a shot.
Yeah, but I mean, I walked a mile today and I was exhausted. You
were tired. You weren't exhausted.
Well, I think it's this pill I take, which it makes me clumsy as I walk. Okay, I kind of have to watch my step. So anyway, I had to go down to the Adam Clayton Powell Jr. office building.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Well, yeah, where they have
Keep the faith, baby.
They have a statue of Adam Clayton Powell Jr.
Yeah,
in the front of it, and I'm thinking, boy, a monument to a crook.
Yeah, he was as corrupt as the day is long.
You want to talk about corrupt politicians?
Yeah.
See, he put the K in corrupt.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
I always am kind of bothered by that, especially since somebody hasn't come along since and gone, well, he was always making out with the women and taking advantage of them and so on. Let's tear it down, okay?
Yeah.
We can go get Jefferson's statue down, but we're not going to take Adam Clayton Powell Jr.
No, I know. And in the meantime, there were so many wonderful activists in the Harlem neighborhood who, helped with neighborhood food drives and voting registration and stuff, but they're nameless, faceless people. Mm-hmm. And so they don't get statues, unfortunately.
No, and they should.
That's the nature of the world.
Yeah, and what was her name? The one around the Underground Railroad.
Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman. We have a Harriet Tubman statue on St. Nicholas Avenue.
Right.
Kind of an intersection there.
Mm-hmm.
And I always felt that there was something wrong with the statue because it reminds me, pardon me, folks, she looks like Mrs. Butterworth.
Oh, Jesus.
It's just the way it's shaped and everything. It looks like a Mrs. Butterworth's bottle.
Oh, my.
Yeah, but...
she's great on pancakes. So.
Well, Harriet Tubman was worth having a statue. But why do I live on Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard? In fact, I put 7th Avenue on all my mail. It'll still get to me.
There you go.
Yeah.
So since I saw you last, I've read and heard some interesting stuff that we can talk about. Number one.
Yeah.
For those that like to...
excuse me if I'm doing this, but it's the only thing I can do to help the eyes.
For those that like to deny climate change, I read something fascinating this week. They talked about measuring June over Junes in the past. And what they found, I thought was just tremendously interesting. They found that temperature change happens and has happened throughout mankind. There have been fluctuations,
it's
but
something.
nothing quite as serious as this. And what they found was that Portland, Maine, in June, had temperatures that Boston had 10 years ago. Boston had the temperatures New York had 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
New York had the temperatures Atlanta had 10 years ago. And Atlanta had the temperatures that Miami had 10 years ago.
So it's all moving up.
Exactly. Yeah. Areas that, I mean, listen, Portland, Oregon having temperatures in the 110s is absolutely unheard of. They were also, I mean, just stop and think about you and I in the New York area currently. I've lived the first 60 years of my life, and I guarantee you that maybe I've seen 2 tornado watches in my life. Well, I've seen about 5 this summer, and the summer isn't half over. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous that we're getting tornado watches and warnings in the New York area.
Yeah, that's terrible.
We don't get rain anymore.
Yeah.
Do you notice? We get storms. We don't get like days.
You're
of
right.
nice,
You're right.
easy
When
rain.
we get rain here, it's always accompanied by thunder.
Yes, it is. And lightning and damaging winds and hail. We don't get just a steady,
But there is no
beautiful,
such
rainy
thing.
day.
There is no such thing as global warming. You know that, don't you?
Oh, no.
I mean, they did. That's what they say. You know. Oh, there's no global warming out there. Gee, we had a cold winter. A really cold winter.
Once again, why is it one side of the aisle? You know, I still don't understand the connection.
Don't we have a few Democrats out there that aren't vaccinated and do believe global warming doesn't exist?
Honestly, none that I know of.
None that I know of either.
Well, here's another, which brings me to the next issue, and that is the flap this week about Jim Jordan being removed from the committee to investigate January 6th.
He shouldn't be on it,
me,
because we know what he does when he's on a committee like that. He hijacks it.
Well, in the first place, here's what I found funny.
Yeah.
About several days before January 6th, Jim Jordan was part of a group of people who admittedly attended a meeting with Donald Trump, the sole purpose of which was to decide how they could overturn the election. So in effect, putting him on the committee to investigate the insurrection would be similar to having an investigation of drug cartels and inviting El Chapo to sit on the panel.
No, worse than that. Worse than that. It would be like having a subcommittee on, say, the mob, and having a gangster, on the panel.
Of course,
because this is someone you would otherwise be subpoenaing, whatever it is. And in the case of Jim Jordan, he's somebody you would subpoena because he's got information about these meetings he had with Donald Trump.
Yeah, he may have to testify. You know, like he may be a co-conspirator.
Exactly. So what does he do? Does he come off the dais and sit in the chair, or what?
Yeah, exactly.
What happens? You know,
he changes hats.
And who asks? Then, when it's his turn to ask questions, does he ask himself questions?
Right. Well, somebody made a good point and said that part of the problem is that they keep calling it a bipartisan committee, and what they should refer to it as a nonpartisan committee. You know, that in effect parties should have nothing to do with this. This was an assault on the Capitol building, for the love of Mike. But anyway.
But they're trying to say that Pelosi is out to gin this thing up and make it look like Trump did something wrong. Of course he did.
Yeah, well, of course he did. I mean, come on.
You know, I mean, did you see did you hear the interview that he did with these reporters who did this book on him, in which he said, "Oh no, that was a love fest.
Yeah,
people were loving each other.
Yeah,
they were hugging and
wonderful people
hugging each other, and they were being invited in by the guards from the
Yeah.
from the Capitol. Yeah, they were being invited in, I guess, as they trampled over the guards after hitting them with 2x4s.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, what world does Trump live in? They say he really lives in an imaginary world. He's really sick.
You know, Alex, 20 years from now, God willing, I'm still alive. I think the enduring image of January 6th for me will be two parts. It'll be the guy inside the Capitol building brandishing a Confederate flag. I don't think I'll ever be able to erase that image from my mind. And the other is the guy with his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk. You know, like, I think this is teenage behavior.
Yeah.
You know, it's just come on.
It was a terrible thing that went on. It looks like the military was more worried about it than anyone would like to believe.
Yeah.
They had plans in case Trump asked them to bring out the military to kind of overthrow the election, and what they were going to do and what they were going to do. I think they were all going to resign or refuse, one or the other. But, you know, they were really worried that he was capable. Just to even think that they were worried that he was capable of that.
Yeah. It's scary
very
shit.
scary.
It really is.
Very scary.
On the brighter note, I heard the other day that 10 current GOP House members who have been critics of Donald Trump are out fundraising their opponents who are Trump acolytes. So maybe, just maybe, there are certain signs, including a couple we talked about last week and the week before, that maybe there's still a heartbeat, you know, in the old GOP.
It could be. I mean, the only thing that really seems to bring any sensibility home is the feeling that any one of these politicians feels that he's not going to get reelected.
Right.
He will do anything. He would sell his mother to get reelected.
It all comes down to that.
So if they feel that their adversaries are raising more. Oh, well, you're saying these are people who have kind of been anti-Trump, and so they're getting money from their constituents.
Out raising their pro-Trump opponents, yes, within the GOP.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, so maybe, you know, there's a small crack in the fortress where it comes to the Trump GOP.
Yeah, the question is really going to boil down to the fact of, are these people capable of some kind of decency? You know, here's the latest thing I heard, and this is just really disgusting. They don't know how many of our congressmen and senators on the Republican side have gotten vaccinated. And the reason they don't know is when asked the question, they all refuse to answer.
Yeah. And it's because they're afraid.
Because they probably did get the vaccination.
Oh, sure.
You know, I mean, Rand Paul's very happy to say he didn't get it. But then again, he had COVID. So he has a certain protection there.
Right. On the other hand, as Alan pointed out on the show last night, Mitch McConnell, I almost choked to say something positive about old Mitch, but Mitch McConnell actually said that people should get vaccinated, which I thought was, like earth-shattering.
He took a while.
Oh, well, please, you know. Well, don't let the door hit you, but...
Yeah, no, but he took a while, but he did do it. He did finally say it. But how much is that going to help, do you think?
I don't know. How many followers does Mitch McConnell truly have? You know, like, I don't really know anyone personally who says, you know, I wasn't a fan of Trump, I'm not a fan of Kevin McCarthy, but I love that Mitch McConnell. You know, I just don't know those
people.
Irrepressible. Yeah.
He's a hunk.
Yeah, Johnny No Chin, we call him.
He has the sourest look of any human being outside of Reverend Al Sharpton. You ever notice Al Sharpton has he can't get that sour look off his face. As hard as he tries, he could be laughing, it would still be.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah.
The other thing I read, which is probably of more interest to you than it would be to me, because I'm not really a TV or movie guy at all, but
Yeah.
I read that Netflix, for the first time, actually went below 50% of streaming activity in the last quarter. And that actually they lost 430,000 customers over the second quarter in the United States and Canada.
Really?
And industry insiders blamed three things. They said that
Well,
number
let me
one,
guess what they are.
yeah, go ahead.
Number one, the programming sucks.
Well, because of COVID, they weren't able to produce new programming.
Well, they did. They did. But I'll explain why their programming sucks later. The other reason I would say is because of their price increase.
It's because other companies have outpriced them, like Paramount, Disney. And the third was consolidation within the industry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that some of the larger firms are ganging up, so to speak.
Well, they all want to get in on that Netflix juggernaut. They want to get in on that money. Netflix, we might add that, I don't know, how many did you say they lost? 500,000?
Up like close to it, 400,000 plus. Yeah.
But they were up to 210 million subscribers.
Yes, worldwide. 66 million in America, believe it or not. All the rest of it is worldwide.
Yeah, so losing 500,000 is like really a pimple on your ass.
Exactly.
Okay.
And here's the other thing that was interesting about that story was that Netflix has very quietly hired an executive who used to be a big shot. His name is Mike something or other. He used to be a big shot at EA, Electronic Arts.
Yeah.
And the reason they hired him is because Netflix is very strongly moving toward going to gaming, so that you can go to Netflix and suddenly play, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog or whatever it is that people play online.
Well, I think that the thing is that I was trying to remember who number 2 is. I think number 2 is, I don't know who number 2 is now.
Nor do I. Would it be Amazon
but I do
Prime?
know. I do know
guess.
that coming up, I think third or something is Disney Plus.
Right.
Because they have got about 110 million that they've gotten in very short amount of time. I mean, it's some good programming over there. HBO Max is having a problem gaining traction.
So that's where the article started, was about HBO Max kind of treading water and not doing as well as they
it's
hoped.
not that it's doing badly. I think they've got something like 60 million or something like that. But they're just not gaining. Okay.
Right. Well, the thing that the article pointed out was that the downturn for Netflix is against the fact that people were shut in over the last year, and you would think they relied upon Netflix more than ever before. So it's a curious thing that they would lose subscribership in such a period of time. The other thing that I thought was funny in the article was it said that when Netflix goes to gaming, they claim that the price when they add gaming will not go up. And I thought, and pigs will fly.
Oh, wait a minute. Do you know what I'm paying right now for Nets?
No.
Well, because I want their 4K service. I want to get their 4K streaming. It costs me $18.95 a month.
Wow.
Right. and I think what they did is they inched their way up. You know, when I first signed up, they were $7.95.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know.
Now, mind you, you have just the streaming service, not also the CD or the DVD.
No, I don't have the DVD thing or anything. It's just
because I read that the DVD service actually has 60% of their library. That it's a greater number through DVD than it is through streaming.
I don't
Is that the
think
case?
so. I think they for years they've been trying to get rid of the DVD segment. Okay, but the reason they haven't is because too many people complain when they tried to.
Because they have poor signal.
Yeah, so they still, if you want to have a service with Netflix where you have them mail you a DVD, fine.
Right.
Of course, the big problem now is find a DVD player
Yeah, right.
You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
so
Yeah. It's right next to my 8-track. Yeah.
it's right next to your 8-track.
Yeah.
So I don't know what but I think that the other reason why they're doing badly is I think the price increase was ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't. I said to Marjorie, I said, if you didn't live with me, I'd get rid of Netflix. They cost too much, and what do I watch on there? I watch Lucifer, and I watch. What else did I watch? I watched a couple other things, and that was it. What is that worth that much money a month? Meanwhile, over at Disney, I'm paying $6.95 a month. Plus, I got their package where you get Hulu and you get ESPN Plus, and the whole thing is costing me like $18.
Okay, but
All right.
simple economics tells me the following: Disney, Paramount, Discovery are all trying to get a foothold in this market. Once they get their foothold in the market, prices
Are going to go up.
tend to even out.
Well, what happens is I have, for instance, I have Paramount Plus. People will say, why? Well, because I got it when it first went up, and they had a deal where if you went and got Paramount Plus, it would only cost you, they would take 50% off for the first year. So basically, I'm paying like $4.50 a month.
Yeah.
Big deal, I fart $4.50.
Yeah, right.
All right. Maybe next year I might have to think about whether I'm going to renew them. I can't remember who I had, and a Peacock. I had them for a while, and then I got rid of them because I don't see any reason for it.
Yeah.
Maybe I would subscribe now because the Olympics are on. Marjorie likes the Olympics, but then as soon as that would be over, I get rid of them again.
Let me ask you this question as a fun trivia before we go.
And by the way, I might add, I can get a lot of the shows that Netflix has by stealing them. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, we're not supposed to talk about
We're not
those,
supposed to talk about that, but that is a reality.
but it is happening. It's sort of a black market, isn't it?
Well, let me put it this way. They found that if you, and they found this in the early days of like video and things like that, if you charge a reasonable price for your product, people aren't going to steal it. They're going to want to buy the product.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
But if you charge too much, then they're going to go out and steal it. Well, they're getting to the point where it's why not steal it? Because they're trying to steal from you.
Exactly.
They're not making their product work.
Here's your trivia question. Of all television watching, this according to the Times, of all television viewing, what percentage would you imagine is streaming viewing as opposed to cable channels and so on? What percent of television viewing is streaming viewing?
Say that again.
Sure. Of all television viewing,
Yeah.
you take all the television viewers over a week, let's say.
Okay.
What percentage of that television viewing is involved in streaming services of some kind as opposed to networks and channels and so on?
I would say it's pretty high.
Take a guess.
60%.
It's 26%.
Really?
Yeah. And Netflix is 6% of all television viewing.
You know something? You know why? And let me proffer this to you. The reason for that is that it's because people don't want to pay for this stuff. They still are wedded to the fact that regular TV is free.
Yeah.
That's it. So I have to believe that that's probably the reason why. But I think as time goes on, we're going to see the networks diminish and all the streaming services.
They
take
kind of
over.
already have. Like, I don't know a show on CBS, honestly. I really don't. I'm not a TV guy.
You have to go out there. To begin with, in order to watch any of these channels, you have to have the Netflix app on your TV set. You have to have the Hulu app on your TV set.
Right.
A lot of people still have TV sets that aren't capable of having apps.
Right.
Okay, but when all those TV sets break and they're replaced by the ones with smart TVs,
Right.
they're going to start, So I think that's why it's still low.
I always thought smart TV was something of an oxymoron myself, but that's a personal opinion.
Well, I mean, I think, but I mean, you and I can keep talking because nobody's calling to be on the show tonight.
I'm here.
Nobody's calling to be on
Oh
the
my
show tonight.
goodness.
Until I see them, I'm not even gonna think about it.
The funny thing is, I've actually planned to call tonight and do an interview of you, actually, turn the tables on you, and to do an interview of you. You've interviewed so many people in your life. I thought it would be a fun thing to do. Maybe another-
I've found, well, I do get interviewed from time to time by reporters and things like that,
Right.
or somebody wants to do an article on me, or
Right.
somebody's writing an essay for something or another, doing a project for high school. I'm down
Right,
to
right,
that.
right, right,
I used to be
right.
a
I
big
did those
shot
when I was in high school.
No, but I used to be a big shot, but now I'm just relegated to high school reporters.
Well, let me ask you one. Of all
Okay.
the interviews you did
Mhm.
in your career, and you did so many,
Mhm.
of all the interviews you did, who surprised you the most in the sense of you expected little or nothing, and you wound up fascinated with that individual? Who's that person?
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I mean, when people ask me uh, who was the most interesting interview that I
Yeah,
ever
that's
did.
somewhat different though, because you may have thought he was
that
interesting
is
going in.
No, well, I didn't. I knew it was going to be okay. It'd be somebody I wanted to interview.
Right.
But
right.
I was going to say John Scopes.
Oh
The
wow.
Scopes monkey trial.
Yeah. Holy smoke.
I think to this day he is still the most memorable interview I've ever done.
Wow.
Because what you're doing when that happens is you're interviewing history,
Of course. Yeah.
and you also find out things you didn't know, like the fact that he actually got paid
Right.
to be put on trial.
Right. Exactly.
He said,
Yeah.
and he suddenly, as the years went on, he became more of an advocate, just
Right.
purely because he learned all about it. But anyway, but who was I surprised? What I thought maybe it was going to be a crappy interview, and
Well,
turned
you,
out to
you
be
really didn't give a hoot about the person either way, and then by the end of the interview, you couldn't get enough of this person. There's usually a person that
God,
shocks you.
it's hard. I'd really have to do some
Think about
thinking.
that a lot.
To begin with, I've lost most of my memory. Most of my memory is shot.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So consequently, because my memory is shot, it's hard for me right now to recall it, and I'm trying to think, because there's got to be one where I
Sure.
went, "Oh God, I don't want to do this," and all
Well,
of a
I'm
sudden
sure it goes the other way too, right? Where you were excited and pumped up for an interview, and the guy turned out, or the woman turned out to be a total dud. Where you thought, "Oh Jesus, how do I get out of this?"
Well, what's his name? The guy that was in My Dinner with Andre, and was in Princess Bride. I'm trying to remember his name now.
I wouldn't know.
Hold on a second. Let me look it up here. Princess Bride. Princess Bride. I'll know it in a second as soon as I see it. Here's the Princess Bride, and his name is. Let me see here. Wally Shawn. Do
I'm not
you know who
familiar
Wally
with him.
Shawn is?
No.
Kind of a milquetoast guy. Did you ever see Annie Hall?
Yes, many years
And
ago.
in the movie, oh no, not Annie Hall, Manhattan.
I saw that
And
as well.
Keaton keeps talking about this boyfriend she has. And he has
Oh,
a very
okay,
sexy
okay.
name, and then she meets him, and it's this
Okay.
wimp. That's Wally Shawn. And when I heard I was going to interview Wally Shawn, I thought, this is great. He was in My Dinner with Andre, and he was in The Princess Bride. He comes in. He is the dullest interview that you can. Nice guy, but just really dull. So I'm getting this flop sweat of this. This interview's got to come to a close soon. Because I can't think of another question to ask that he would answer in any kind of meaningful way.
Yeah.
Who and wait a
what's
minute,
that?
and so towards the so all of a sudden I say, well, thank you so much, Wally, for coming by today. We really appreciate it. And he said, you're getting rid of me?
Whoa.
And I said, well, not really. It's just how we have to go to another interview. And he says, I wasn't good enough?
Oh no.
Oh, God. So I kept him on for another 20 minutes.
Oh shit. Was there anyone in your career that gave you advice that really mattered?
Well, I mean, there are people I have had on that have made an impression on me or said something that made me think.
Professionally.
I remember Timothy Leary made me think.
Really?
Yeah, I was at a point in my career where I was going to be the big shot. I was the guy who was going to get Timothy Leary in an interview. This was in Houston, Texas. And he completely beat me up.
No kidding.
Yeah, he just answered every question and just, started. I can't begin to give you an example, but 2 days later I went and tried LSD. That's how influential that interview was on me.
Are you at all familiar with the ESPN guy, Chris Berman? Does that name ring a bell?
I know the name. I don't.
Okay. Well, Chris Berman was once asked, I thought this was a fabulous answer. Chris Berman in an interview was once asked, what was the best professional advice you ever got? And it turns out, he said, that he went to Brown University, and when he graduated, his favorite professor came over to congratulate him and gave him the following advice. And I thought this was priceless. He said, Chris, be pushy, but don't be a pain in the ass, and only you will know the answer, will know the difference. Be pushy, but don't be a pain in the ass, and only you will know the difference. And I thought, there's a lot to that. Those that are a little bit pushy do get, sometimes what they want.
I didn't get this in an interview with him, but I heard him say it on another interview. And that was Steve Allen, who really taught me a lot about interviewing and having guests on a show. First thing he said was, when you have a guest on, you're going to be there tomorrow. They're here today to help you do the show.
Wow.
Let them work. Don't try to top the guest.
Right.
Never try to top the guest. If you have a funny guest on, don't try to be funnier than he is.
Wow.
And if you ever listen to some guys who have comics on their shows, they have a comic on the show and they're always trying to top them with their own joke. And so that's one thing I learned, is never top the guest. And he said that, you're going to be here tomorrow, and if the ratings are going to be good on that show, they're going to be good because that guest helped you.
That's exactly right. That's great. So, Steve Allen's a personal hero.
And his other piece of advice was, you don't do an interview, you hold a conversation.
Huh.
And if you listen to the way I interview, I hold a conversation. I don't have questions that I ask.
I've always rated you among the best interviewers I've ever heard in my life, and thought if ever I were in a position to interview people publicly, I would follow your lead. I honestly mean that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the major rule there is, hey, you're going to be here tomorrow, okay? You don't have to top anybody, and, you just hold a conversation.
Yeah.
Also, by holding a conversation, you're not sitting there like a lot of interviewers do, sitting there in your mind thinking, what's my next question going to be? And while this person's answering, you're questioning yourself, what's the next question going to be? And you don't hear the answer, which would probably give you the next question.
You know what? You have the confidence. I've always sensed that you have the confidence that whichever way it goes, you'll be okay. That you'll be able to follow the lead of whoever it is you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a talent. It's really a confidence that you'll be okay, and you don't need a prescribed script to follow, because those are stilted,
Mm-hmm.
That's
the other thing,
sure.
and this is there are a lot of different things that I've learned over the years, and one of them I learned from a friend of mine who I worked with and was business partners with, Al Goldstein of Screw Magazine.
Sure.
Now, guys like Al are always in positions where people are attacking them in interviews and trying to be the heroes, and then they have to somehow defend themselves.
Right.
And what he taught me how to do is when, like, let's say that people would always ask me the question, well, would you want your kid to read Screw Magazine?
Right.
And he'd go, no, I don't do Screw Magazine for kids.
Right, in the first place.
Right? In other words, you walk into the answer, you don't back off of it.
Right.
And I learned that the best way to come out in an argument is to admit your fallibilities, and to not it's just kind of like walk into the answer, don't run away from it.
Right. Right.
So
was there a moment in your career where you realized, I think I've made it? Where you stopped worrying about, will I be able to do this? And you thought, yeah, I think I made it.
Right,
I think I got it.
Right now.
This interview.
Well, let's be honest. I never really made it. Okay.
No, but you were able to decide, I can make a go of this. I can feed myself with this and make it a career.
I never felt secure enough that I was going to have a job the next day.
No kidding.
No.
Wow.
But that's show business. I mean, I had a friend. I give you a perfect example. Who was it? Came into my studio. I'm trying to remember now. Patrick Stewart. Stewart comes in. I do an interview with him, right? And after the interview's over, I say, hey, thank you very much, Patrick. I shake his hand and I said, please, anytime you're in New York, come and you got something to plug, give me a call and let's have you back on again. And he said, well, if they allow me to do another motion picture.
Wow.
And this was at the height of his career.
Wow.
And I suddenly realized, that's par for the course. You just think that, because I got told by a friend of mine, Chuck McCann, years ago, that every time he would sign, when he was finished doing a movie, he had to sign out. He said every time he signed out, you didn't know if that was the last job you'd ever have.
Holy shit. I've heard similar stories about Olivier, that Olivier was horribly insecure. And here we're talking about someone who, I mean, arguably, you could make the case, is among the greatest actors, in the English language. And he has made quotes about the fact that he kind of lived on tenterhooks, wondering if he would get the next job.
Yeah.
And I thought, Jesus Christ, like if he's worried, what right do any of us have to feel secure? My goodness.
Yeah. So, I mean, that insecurity always exists, know. And it's really nice now being nominated for, admission into the Radio Hall of Fame, the Radio Broadcasters Hall of Fame. But I don't think I'm going to win. I don't think I got a chance. I think it'll be Sally Jesse Raphael, which would be fine with me. If it's either of the other two, I would be bothered. But if it's her, I won't be bothered by it.
Did I just hear Larry Elder's running for office somewhere?
Yes, he's running for governor of California.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Prick.
You're in thick competition, my friend.
Oh yeah, right. He's thick competition. You compare my career, even as non-nationally known as it was, and compare it to Larry Elder's, and I'm sorry, I should walk away with the beauty prize. Okay,
See, listen, I was a New York listener, and in the early 70s, mid 70s, you were it, dude. You really were. There were people in the quote unquote counterculture who sat and listened to your every word. And not only you, but also the people you attracted. There were nights when Abby was on. There were nights when Jerry was on. There were nights when influential people in the counterculture were on. And in effect, it's where a lot of people who were leaning left in those days were getting their marching orders and understanding, what the issues of the day were.
I don't for one moment wonder my importance to this business. I think I'm more important to this business, however, than I've been given credit for.
Oh, no question
Okay,
about it. I mean,
so,
what I just said is perfect example of that.
I mean, who else is in the Radio Hall of Fame already? Wendy Williams. Okay,
Yeah,
go figure.
Think it over.
So
Yeah.
I mean, also it's a contest. But anyway, I guess I better call this to a close. There's only one person waiting to go on here, but do you want to see them?
Sure.
Somebody you would actually like. Hold on a second. Let me admit him. Hold on. And let me get rid of your name.
My man.
There he is. There's Jeff. Hi, Jeff. No, your mic isn't on.
I know.
There you go.
Putting you on. How you doing?
There you go.
Hey, Jeff.
Say hello to Robert.
Robert, it's really nice to listen to you.
It's good to see you, Jeff. I've missed you.
You've asked me a couple of questions that I just, that thing about who surprised you. And I know I've got an answer, but my mind lately has been in such a fog.
Well, it's the kind of thing you might come up with next week. Like all of a sudden it'll pop into your head.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy.
I mean, I'm sure there was somebody where I went, oh God, this is going to be terrible.
Right.
And he turned out to really be amazing. I'll tell you, I kind of liked who was that guy who was the senator, congressman from Texas, who wound up getting in a lot of trouble, wound up on Dancing with the Stars. I'm trying to remember what his name was. But he's a Republican.
How long ago? Not Ted Cruz. How long ago?
It's well, I was doing it. It had to be about 10, 15 years ago, maybe. But anyway, he was a Republican, disgusting Republican, disgusting. And I had him on, and I thoroughly enjoyed him. I liked him.
Mm-hmm.
He was very affable, self-pejorative. I had a good time with him. And I went, this can't be. This is not right.
Yeah.
And also, I'll tell you who else I kind of liked. This is going to really get you mad. Who was the press secretary, the original press secretary to...
Oh, the little Weasley guy.
No, her, a woman.
Oh, you mean Huckabee Sanders?
Yeah, okay. Huckabee, not her. Her father, Mike Huckabee. I had him on, and he was wonderful.
Right.
He was affable. He was funny. I enjoyed having him there on the show. And after, towards the end of the show, I said, I hate your politics, but God, I've had a nice time with you.
Right.
And it's kind of like somebody pointed out, though, he had to be nice. I said, why is that? It's like the reason why, I don't know, mobsters have to be nice.
Yeah.
That's how they win you over.
Of course.
That's how they get you on their side.
Right.
And this guy is a politician.
We live in an over 55 community, and of all the friends I have in this particular community, the person I'm the closest to is a staunch Republican and right-winger.
Yeah.
And I virtually hate his politics. I think he leans toward racism. And yet, this morning, before I left for my procedure, he wrote me an email saying, hope everything comes out okay.
Yeah.
So, on a personal level, he's about as sweet as can be. But if
Mike
the subject
Huckabee,
gets around the politics, we see stars, right?
And I had Mike Huckabee on a couple more times for that very reason.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys who we perceive as being horrible, they're horrible politically. And I consider that a moral misjudgment, okay?
Yeah.
But on a personal level, you get along with them,
Right.
and it's really strange. And you feel like you're sleeping with the enemy.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
I admired John McCain for that matter. I mean, I couldn't stand his politics.
You know what I used to say about John McCain? You're gonna hate me for this, but I used to say they made such a big deal about what went on. But the thing is, he's a hero for being caught.
For being captured.
For being captured. And then Trump came along and basically said the same thing.
Said that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you've got to give the guy credit for the fact that he wouldn't yield. You know, like when he was in captivity.
Oh yeah. No, I certainly give him that. But he got shot down twice. I mean, that's how bad a pilot he was.
Yeah.
You know.
But, you know, in the end, if John McCain had won the presidency, I still would have slept at night. You know, when Trump was president, I'd wake up each and every fucking morning and turn on the TV hoping something hadn't blown up. Whereas with John McCain, you know, I disagreed with his politics mostly, but I would have slept okay. Because in the end, I felt he was a patriot. You know, I felt he cared about this country. And that was just fine with me.
That was, when it came to his politics, I could have a lot of questions.
Me too.
Okay. But I always knew that he always cared about this country and would never do anything to hurt it.
Right.
Okay?
There was a moral imperative on his part.
And so if he had some kind of political standpoint or view that I disagreed with, it perhaps was something he had thought over and mulled over and decided was right for his morality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's okay that I disagree, you know, so long as I have confidence that we both have the country's best interest at hearts. We just have two different ways of getting there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Turn that down. I brought
Who's this guy? I don't think we've met.
You're taking all our freaking time, man.
In fact,
Yeah,
I guarantee you, Robert, if anybody joins in tonight who I think will be any problem to you, I will not let them in.
Nobody's a problem.
Okay. But
except maybe this Neary guy.
He's so special. I thought he was from New York, man. I thought he was a tough guy. Maybe Alan's right.
Yeah. Do you know that you and I together are getting more numbers than normally I get with,
wow.
with 10
I
people?
saw that too, and I said, "Oh my God, here we go."
Yeah, geez. I won't be able to get in a doorway anymore.
Yeah, but anyway, but I mean, that was an interesting question. God, I still haven't come up with an answer. But somebody, what was the original question?
The original question was, who surprised you when you did an interview where you didn't expect much, but by the end of the interview, you found him a fascinating individual. Mm-hmm. And I keep saying him, it could be a her.
Robert Natali last week.
There you go.
I'm trying to think, and I can't. I know there's somebody like that. There's somebody that I went, oh, okay. I admit they're pretty good. If you want to leave at any time now, you can. But
this
so is it me or what?
Yeah,
no, because you know what? The numbers will go down a couple people, and then he's going to say, "Oh, see, when I left."
We were up to.
It's like I come on and Brian's breaking my balls.
We were up to about.
Terrible.
We got to make up for all these weeks.
Well, we were up to about 46 people, and since I started bringing people on, it started going down. But that could be because you guys came on and
we were
watching. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So Robert.
Yes, sir.
Back to your conversation there with Mr. McCain. I'm curious how you feel about Miss Cheney. I've had the same kind of thoughts about McCain, and I'm starting to feel the same about Liz Cheney.
Kevin, I used to dislike Liz Cheney a great deal.
Right.
I couldn't stand her father, from here to there. But where I'm going to agree with you big time is that I have to give her credit for balls.
Exactly.
I always admire balls. I really do. Yeah, but I admire somebody that's principled, even if I disagree with their principles.
Is she the lesbian?
Because I watched her the other day, or yesterday it was, when she was standing down there on the steps answering questions.
That was tough.
And I thought, you know what? This woman's got some huevos.
Yeah, and what's more is she's taking political risks in order to stand by her principles, which I think is like, where else do you find that anymore?
It's honorable.
Is she? Let me ask you: is she the lesbian daughter?
I don't know.
Remember, Cheney had a lesbian daughter.
Yes. I don't know.
And
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No, she's not the lesbian.
That's not the lesbian. But also her stance being against. It's not just like you're against Pepsi or Coke, right? I mean, this is if you're against that, these other people want to storm and kill, right, and stick you on the news. But
Yeah.
this is not a friendly type. Oh well, I like this and not this. No, this is really
look.
good.
I thought the same. I
100%.
thought the same thing about what went on in January 6th, and then I heard Trump say that it was a love fest.
Yeah.
So now I understand it. Maybe I looked at it wrong. Maybe because they weren't wearing flowers.
Look at it backwards.
Yeah, right.
Maybe because they
Run the
weren't.
tape backwards.
Right.
Bring me
Yeah,
on, bring me on, Deadman.
Yeah.
But see, there's a clip out there. You guys should go look for it if you haven't seen it already, of Kevin McCarthy on the floor in the House, and he's defiling Trump for his part in having caused the insurrection. Boy, I swear he needed fucking tail lights for how fast he backed
And
that
now he
up.
goes down to Mar-a-Lago and gets his marching orders.
Yeah, exactly. So
What-
see, that's the opposite
you-
of what
will
I
you
admire.
just-
You know,
somebody
like
ex-
that's the very opposite of principle.
Explain to me, if you will, please. I beg of you. What does he have over these guys? I mean, if I did what he did and I lost the way he lost and the way in which things came down in the end, every member of my party would disavow me. They wouldn't want to have anything to do with me. How did he manage to hold on to their balls?
He's got the majority of the white supremacist vote. He's got the majority of the white, I'm afraid the minority is starting to take over the country vote. You know, like this is the segment that Trump tapped into that Republicans had really never given a thought to before.
How
And they're
afraid,
afraid to go against
how
that.
afraid do you think there are people in this country of the fact that blacks are taking over, the Mexicans are taking over?
I think it's prevalent.
Do you think it's really prevalent?
Personally, I think it's prevalent. I think there are a lot of people that are afraid that the old days where whites ruled are gone, that they feel like concessions have been made to minorities that aren't afforded to whites and so on. I think there's a building resentment, even among people who are ordinarily live and let live types. I do.
Lurking in the woods for a long time, and it's finally coming out.
Yes, I
That's
agree.
what's happening, and it's been brewing. It's been they've been quote unquote training, and someone said, okay, it's time to come out now.
It's okay to come
It's
out.
okay
Yeah.
to come out now.
Well,
Exactly.
And that was Trump, and Trump has done that, and he's let the pigs loose.
it reminds
I
me of a
couldn't agree
feeling
more.
of a feeling I've had recently. I always hear a lot about we got to do this for minorities, we got to do that for minorities, and it's always black oriented. And yet, I wasn't aware that the only people in this country who've been subject to racism and to the disparity in incomes and things like that because of racism weren't just black. They were Hispanic, they were Asian. I mean, in many cases, any number of different religions and groups. And yet, it's all aimed at. Well, we know what we got to do. We got to get more black voters out. We got to get more. We got to get more vaccinations in black arms. I mean,
because it's been a big part of our history, and I think that's been the biggest focus. It's been a big part of our history,
Yeah.
but it's now they're bringing everybody into it.
well, it doesn't
The
seem.
blacks are the leaders, and then it's bringing in the brown and everybody else, the Asians and everything else.
I wish-
They're all being
yeah.
brought into it. It's just it's the front end of it.
I wish
tell
I
you what
could.
else.
I wish I could say I was as certain of that. I think that there's a white man's guilt that just says, "Oh, let's do everything for the blacks." You know, that's the way they look at it. And I look at Mexicans right now in this country. Look at the problems they've got. You know, and Chinese, when they were building railroads in this country,
Yeah.
were absolute slave labor. Okay,
They're
And
buried in our histories.
they're buried in our history. The American Indian, you know,
Yeah.
the people who we took this land away from, the way they're still to this day treated. And yet we seem to put all the emphasis on black. And I think that's wrong.
But see, my wife and I taught in a district that was 95% Hispanic. We're not Hispanic, but we
Right.
taught in a district that was 95% Hispanic.
She's
Now,
a
the kids
she's
that
a
we
teacher
taught
too. She was a
in the
teacher. too.
70s and 80s,
Yeah.
they're now assimilated. And the black kids that we taught, which weren't many, are still black, and they can't run or hide from that. Whereas the Alvarezes and the Rodriguezes have pretty much become
I don't
part
know. I
of
don't
the
know
fabric
if
of white America.
if Hispanics have been able to assimilate that easily.
Oh,
either.
Alex, they don't get redlined in, buying real estate.
don't think
they
so?
don't get denied loans the way blacks do. I mean, there's a
I mean,
list.
look, I'm not saying that blacks haven't had a problem in this country forever. I mean, they were freed and then they weren't freed. They were just kind of like, you're free, but don't come into our neighborhood. I mean, I certainly sympathize with the plight of blacks in this country, but I just think racism is so endemic in this country that we really have to attack all of it, every single inch of it, And I don't think we're doing that. We're kind of going, yeah, well, then there were the Hispanics, and of course the Chinese, they had little problems. How about the Japanese during World War II in this country?
I just don't think I've ever heard someone say, oh shit, Rodriguez's are moving into the neighborhood, or Wong is moving into the neighborhood.
Well, but you do hear a president like Trump using them to affect the racist voters that he wants to acquire.
Which brings us back to the original point, right?
Yeah.
Which is he kind of opened that can of worms, and now all the shit is,
Well,
it's
I
like
mean,
the
let's
zombies
face it,
come out.
it's a Hitler-like tactic, because what Hitler did is,
Oh,
you get a group of people, in his case Jews, but you get, and gypsies, you get you get a group of people, and then you make them the enemy, and you make them horrible, and you
Yes.
then say, I'm going to rid you of these people,
Yes.
and I'm going to make your life better because they're not going to be here any longer.
Yes. All the problems that you feel you have are because of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna
Maybe it's because you have no fucking education, or maybe it's because, you don't have anything on the ball. But no,
Yeah.
it's because of them. Created them.
What were you saying, Kevin?
No, I just commented that, and I'm gonna fix it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah,
that
I alone.
Well, that's the title of that book about Trump. I can
Yes,
fix it.
I alone can fix it.
Yeah, and I mean, Hitler. I got a thought the other day because I was watching a thing about Hitler again. To this day, I mean, you got to admit he had some kind of an influence over the 20th century, since we never stopped talking about him. There wouldn't be an A&E network if it weren't for the documentaries about Hitler.
Right?
But my question is, was Hitler, take Hitler the individual, I never could see that he was the main problem. That I didn't see him as a strong enough person, at least in his historical past. Lousy painter,
But he was an influencer, and he had
but
people
here's the
around
thing.
him that did shit for him.
Well, was he more a product of the people around him,
Yes.
and then he was used as the focal point?
Yep.
And
Hence
should we really be?
Trump and his Goonies?
Should we have been blaming maybe those other people a little more than we did?
Well, you look at some of these documentaries, and I can't name all the names, but those guys that were sitting right below him were doing the worst stuff under
Yeah.
his quote unquote command.
Yeah, Hitler had his Goebbels and Trump had his Jim Jordans and Tucker Carlson.
And they're still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
And
mean,
notice the parallel of how they both denigrated the press
yeah,
and kind of made the population don't believe your lying eyes. Believe what I tell you is the truth.
Yeah.
Continue.
yeah. Hey, look there, we got Adrian here.
Hi, Adrian.
She says that's Kevin.
Hi, Adrian.
Oh,
Kevin and I hung out Sunday.
I
That's
met Adrian the other day.
hey, Adrian, doesn't Kevin, wave Kevin, doesn't he look like Santa Claus?
Yeah, see, there's, I don't know if you can see, there's Kevin and Adrian and I.
Next to Brian's cool car.
Yeah.
Oh, really? You got together. See, you guys out in California are getting together behind my back.
Yes. Oh, we're waiting for you to come, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Wow. So.
Okay, say goodnight. Say goodnight, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night,
Oh
Adrian.
no.
Adrian.
Hello. Okay. Yes, bye. No, bye. No, bye. Bye.
Hi.
Love you. Bye. You want to be grounded? Bye. Bye.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Don't forget Santa's here.
She's not closing. Look,
Watching you.
Yeah, I know. Look in
Okay.
back of you.
Hold on, let me yell at her.
Oh,
That was effective.
did you yell at her?
Okay.
She's-
How can you can't deny her anything, can you? I mean-
I saw the door cracked.
There's your answer.
Yeah.
She's also funny too. Oh
You
man.
know those little girl
Oh,
tactics.
she's adorable.
I had 2 of them.
What?
I had 2 of them.
Yeah. Now how
Little girl
you,
tactics.
how old are your kids now, Kevin?
My one daughter's 28.
Wow.
My other daughter's 16. Yes, there is a gap.
Yeah. Okay. Which one was the hardest one to raise? The first one?
Both of them.
Both of them. Okay.
Hmm.
And right
were
now,
girls.
right now, the 16-year-old is a
The
point.
boy was not a problem.
Oh yes, there is a boy too.
Yeah.
How
He's
old?
38.
38.
Yeah.
God, how
Oh,
old?
36. Sorry.
I keep
I
saying
can't
how,
keep track of them.
how old are you? But you got to be over 65, right?
I'm 64. Yeah.
64. Wow.
I had Sarah when I was 48, 50, something like that.
Really? Wow.
Right around the same time Brian's going through his deal.
But anyways, so I was just thinking about Hitler, and I kept saying I just don't believe one man could have that much power. That there had to be, he had to be almost like a puppet that they were putting up there in front of the public, and everybody else was doing the real evil stuff. I don't think Hitler said build a concentration camp.
I don't know that one person needs to be that
I think
powerful.
one
I
people.
think it's mob psychology.
I think one person can be that evil, but I don't think
Oh,
Hitler.
yeah.
I don't think
But I
Hitler.
think it's mob psychology. I think.
Well, I don't
people
think
get
Hitler was.
swept
Do
up.
you think Hitler was smart?
Mhm.
You do think he was smart?
I think he was politically savvy. I think he knew which
Did you?
buttons
Do you
to
think
push.
Goebbels was smart? Absolutely.
Yeah, I do.
No, I wouldn't say they were smart. They were evil people. Hitler was like a Jim Jones kind of person. He had a mysterious cult.
But why? Why? I mean, he had a silly-looking guy with a funny mustache. I often claimed.
Well, it's the
that-
same question to Trump. How did
Well,
Trump do
no,
it?
here's what I claimed once, and I was talking once to a historian about this. And hello, Charlene. The historian said that I might have had a point there. I believe that Hitler modeled his look after the most beloved character in the world
Charlie Chaplin.
at the time. Yes.
Yeah.
Because it was interesting when Charlie Chaplin decided to play Hitler, essentially,
Mhm.
in
He
the
was.
Great Dictator, he didn't have to change the look of the character at all.
Nope.
And that Hitler said, I'm going to model myself after Hitler because he is, in fact, the most beloved character in the world. Because that's the only way he could possibly have come into that kind of power, looking that goofy.
A friend of mine put up a Facebook meme that said the only difference between Jim Jones and Donald Trump is that Donald Trump charges you for the Kool-Aid.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. But it's just that You know, in the case of Trump, I honestly believe Trump is that evil. I honestly believe Trump is Machiavellian and batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean batshit crazy. I don't mean just, oh, he's a little goofy like the rest of us and irrepressible. No, he's batshit crazy. He's dangerous.
Totally. You hear that interview with them?
Yeah.
Where they
Yeah.
from that new book?
Yeah. It was a nice. It was a happy fizzies party they were having down there.
He's out of his mind.
Mhm.
He's just, I can't believe that.
His narcissism is just off the charts.
Yeah.
Really is.
I mean, and the fact that the military, they talk about the military just being afraid that he was capable of trying to get them to do something uncalled for. And what were they going to do if asked to do it? And they pretty well decided they would all quit. Is what they decided.
They were ready to do what I call the Argentinian approach. Really, because they did it. They
Yeah.
got rid of the president,
Yeah.
and the military ran the country for, I don't know, 5 years or something like that.
Well,
You
I
imagine
mean,
that.
yeah. I mean, we could have had that kind of situation happen.
Yeah, in that press conference the other day, they said we're prepared to defend the Constitution, and they made it very clear that that's what they're there for,
Yep.
and that was it. They weren't answering no more questions. We're here to defend the Constitution and nothing political. That's it. No more questions.
Basically, I think it was what's his name,
Miley or
Miley or whatever his
Millie,
name is.
Mark Milley.
Millie, yeah.
Milley, who was embarrassed, by the way, if I remember
Yes.
correctly, when Trump took his little PR walk
Yeah.
to the church.
Yeah.
Millie was
He
with that group,
apologized.
and he apologized for being with that group. Oh,
Yeah.
now we got the cutest girl in America, and her mother, the cutest mother
my-
in America.
My oldest daughter.
Oh, is that your daughter? I thought that was your
My
wife.
daughter.
I couldn't see her.
Hello.
Mommy, I love you so much.
She just got home. Said we had a long day. Saving the world for COVID.
Oh, really? What are we going to do about this COVID thing? God, it is just getting out of hand again.
Keep getting tested. That's all I ask.
You
Keep getting tested.
yeah. You know what they did? I read I think I told the story last night. This story in online about this doctor in like Missouri or some one of these places that's really been affected by it, who said he can't tell you the number of people who he's had to put on ventilators, and just before he puts them on ventilators, they say, "Can't you give me the vaccine?"
Yeah.
And he says, "A little late."
Yeah.
You know, it's too late for that. It's not it doesn't cure.
Alex, their dying word is, "Can I have the shot?" Right?
Yeah, the dying
Yeah.
word is, "Can I have the shot?"
Too late.
You know, I mean, it's sad what's happening, but you know, come on, the vaccine's out there. Go get it. And I think if anything's going to turn this around, it's that people are suddenly beginning to realize that by not having the shot, they're vulnerable to death. Plain and simple. You know, and it's horrible. You know, yes,
And it's-
John.
This bullshit that the Republicans are claiming that the Democrats are covering up the origin of where it came from. Total bullshit.
Yeah.
Nobody
Well,
knows where
that
it
was
came
Rand
from.
Paul with his argument with Fauci, and Fauci finally just took him to the woodshed
Oh,
and said, "You're a
sure.
lot. You know, you're calling me a liar. You're the liar. You're the person spreading the mistruths." Yes, Ryan.
Biden had the best. Well, one of my favorite lines last night. He says, "There's a pandemic amongst non-vax."
About non-vaccinated people. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wait, your microphone.
Mic's off. Your mic is off.
Your
mic
mic is,
went blank.
your mic is off now. Yeah. There you go.
Oh my God! Did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
I can hear you now.
There's a pandemic, amongst the non-vaccinated people, and that's true. You know, they have a huge percentage that are all non-vaccinated, and like you guys are saying, they had some lady on CNN today crying on the air thingy and saying, "Oh yeah, I had it. Now I want the vaccination, and my family, I'm trying to get them." Yeah. it's
Well,
crazy.
our percentage has gone up here in New York, but our hospitalizations are down. And the amount of people, we only had 2 people die yesterday.
But the part for me, excuse me, the part for me that's being talked about is the fact that some people say, well, I'm vaccinated, so I don't care what they do. Well, you should care what they do, because variants occur in hosts. You know, like the variants don't occur in thin air.
Right.
They occur because the COVID has a place in which to mutate. And so if everyone gets vaccinated, there will be no more variants.
Yep.
And I think that's being underreported or underspoken about, is that in effect, you're giving the COVID a chance to mutate and strengthen, you know, so we are vulnerable.
Yeah, bounce back and forth, and then that's when it's mutating, is as it's going through the carriers. Right?
Well, they say now that the chances of us who have been vaccinated getting it, forget the people who've had the Johnson & Johnson, that's still kind of up for debate. But people who, like us, who have been vaccinated, our chance, we can still get COVID, but what people are getting is just a bad cold, or at the very worst, a little
Maybe
more.
that's for you, but I think I'm a little bit more risky.
Okay, you're a little bit more risky, but you're not going to die from it.
They have a video of a guy in Vegas, and his shirt, the back of his shirt says "vaccinated and ready to fuck."
Ooh, what?
In Vegas.
what?
In
Oh.
Vegas.
Jeff, though, you had a question about that? About what I was saying?
What was I saying?
Where I
have
was
to think
saying
about
where I was saying that if you're vaccinated and you
Oh.
do get COVID, you're still not going to get it full force.
Yes, I mean, that's the natural strategy that everybody understands from the
Yeah.
scientific.
You may still get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can still get it, and you can have a rough life, and you may die.
Well, no, but if you've been vaccinated, you're not going to.
Yeah, there's a tiny chance, but not very big.
Well, they say that 99.5% of the people who are vaccinated have not died of COVID.
Right.
Okay, that's a pretty good statistic. I'm willing
That's
to go
right.
along with that.
That's right.
I'm
But
still trying to figure out who fucked up. Was it Johnson or was it Johnson?
Well, you know what it is. They've got enough of a problem with that. They've got another problem with the opioid thing. They got to pay off.
Right.
There's what, 12 trillion? Is it 12 billion? How much money was it?
It's, I don't remember.
I think
Is
maybe-
Johnson & Johnson, are they involved in
Oh
that?
yeah, oh yeah. They're the first name on the list.
They're always a mess, J&J.
Hmm.
What
They've
was the
done
top-
other things.
God,
Yeah, the
what was
talcum
the-
powder thing.
I'm sorry, but I wonder if I was really being protected when I put those bandages on me.
Right.
Yeah.
Band-Aids.
The Band-Aids?
Yeah.
Yeah, the little Snoopy protected you, I think.
The little Snoopy. Yeah. God, but don't we live in strange times?
Oh,
Marjorie every night says to me, "This world is so fucked up." She said, "Can it get any worse?" You know, she hears about a shooting in Chicago. She hears about some flood in Europe. She hears about another flood in China. I mean, we have a world of hurt right now. And it's, who do I have to blow in order to get on that rocket out of here? You know? Really. I mean, on the other hand, I'm still pissed at Bezos. So, yeah.
Because he didn't die.
No, well, that too. But, no, I mean, he just cheapened the word astronaut. It takes a little more bravery to be an astronaut, to do the things some of those people did. Can you imagine? Think of Alan Shepard, the first guy who went up on a suborbital flight. How brave was he? How brave was Neil Armstrong and the rest of the crew that went to the moon? I mean,
And they all had years and years of training. They're all in either Air Force or flying
they were all
experimental.
test pilots.
Test
Yeah.
pilots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this guy goes on an amusement ride and calls everybody that was with him an astronaut and gives them little wings.
That's like Adrian gets stickers after dance class.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
gave the wings out.
And quite frankly, I don't think they were brave at all. I'd be happy to go on that ride, It's just 2 steps away, 2 steps ahead of a roller coaster. You know, really, and probably as long a ride as a roller coaster. You know, so I mean, that galled me. That really bothered me this week. You know, I mean, yeah, I love seeing rockets take off. I love the fact, and they got those big bay windows in there. Have you seen that? It was like, you know, hey, and they're all floating around, and somebody says, Bezos says, "Oh, hey, look out the window." You mean,
you know, it was kind of funny watching them when after it landed. The first guys got up there and they went running up to the side of it, and they're looking in the window and they're knocking on it, going, "Hey, you okay?" When you looked at it before, when those guys came down and they came into the ocean, and then they took them out, and nobody would go near them, and they had, you know, detectors all over them, and then they stuck them into a bubble, and they set them off for a week into a capsule.
They were quarantined.
Stay away, you know, they weren't going to touch anybody, and here they are cracking the door open and, "Come on out now, everybody gather around," and it was pretty funny.
Actually,
to watch
it was
all
so
that
nice
stuff
inside
happen.
there. I would have stayed inside for a while.
The only thing they did for safety was ground the damn thing.
How far
Yeah.
up did they go?
They went up 63 miles.
Yeah, 62 or 63 miles, and
That's
that was
it?
it.
63.
Just a suborbit.
That's nothing.
Yeah, they went up and they
That's
came down.
That's outside the stratosphere, right?
Yeah.
Just barely.
And I
That's
said
barely.
that.
Up,
I
and then
said
they
this
kinda
last.
hung,
I
and
said
they were
this
coming
last.
down, and that's when they were floating, and then they
Yeah.
entered the atmosphere.
I said this last night too, and I'll say it again. What kind of obsession does Bezos have with penises?
Right?
Have you seen the Amazon logo?
Yeah, my wife said that years ago.
And
She goes, that looks like a big dick.
And that's what my wife said. Most women say that when they see the Amazon logo. And
A long time ago, they're painted
Yeah.
along the
and
53-foot truck.
it looked like a big dick. And did you see what this rocket looked like?
Yeah.
It looked just like a big dick.
Yep.
You know.
Dildo on fire.
Yeah.
Going north.
Jeff Bezos, do you want to lay down and talk to us about that?
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, what is
What
this
were you
obsession
thinking?
with
Yeah.
penises? I really was, you know, but I mean, yeah, say, hey, we're going up and this is going to be fun and fine, you know, and thanks to my crew for being here. And they weren't even really a crew. I mean, a crew does stuff, you know. One guy's looking at the oxygen levels, and another one is doing this, another one is doing that. These guys were just sitting there basically, I don't know, probably reading magazines till the thing took off, you know. And
Listen, I did a colonoscopy today. I should get a sticker that says deep sea diver or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Butthole stick.
What did they put you out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the most marvelous time in my life, I think.
Oh, I got mine right here from Kaiser. My do the poop and stick a little stick in there, get a little chunk of it, and send it off to them.
I got that too.
Every year.
What are they collecting shit over at Kaiser?
Yeah.
I told you guys before, I've had to sign off documents at my company, and they have the samples, and they have this is too little. They have a picture of it with just a little bit of poop, and then they have this one is too much, and they have the big chunk, and then the other one is just right.
I would if they asked me to do
It's
that.
almost as good as the picture of the commercial with the box following the lady along the way.
Yeah.
Oh, the color
To be
box.
honest with
Fill
you,
up the box.
to be honest
I
with
think you should get dog shit and
No.
put it in just to see what happens.
If they sent me that, I would simply,
Right now.
I would simply exude a huge turd and put it in the envelope. You know,
There we
the
go.
nerve, the nerve.
Oh.
Hey, listen, thanks, Robert, for sticking around here because a
was
while
my
back
pleasure.
there
It
was
was good
nobody
seeing
calling. So, we'll do it again next week. Okay.
Great.
Jeff, great having you here. Thanks for being the first one to join us tonight. Thanks to John Larkin for being the second one to join us. The third one that joined us was Brian, and the fourth one that joined us was Kevin, and finally there was Charlene. I think I got them in the right order, right? I don't want anybody to be upset with me.
Close
I
enough.
need you all to vote for me for, the Hall of Fame. Anyway, that's it. Everybody, give a big wave goodbye,
Good night,
and I'll
everyone.
give a big wave goodbye at you, okay? There they go, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye. Okay, there they go. And Jack Bishop is next with The Intersection. He'll be taking your calls on Skype at GabNet Live. That's pretty much it for me. Yeah, at the beginning of this show tonight, I was going to say I'm not going to doing a show tomorrow night because nobody was calling. But people did start calling, and we had a pretty nice little show. And I thank everybody for doing it. And I also thank Robert for sticking around, too. Hey, that's it for tonight. What the hell? I'll see you again tomorrow night. Same time, same station in life. And in the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her. And by the way, if you haven't been vaccinated, you're an idiot. Go get vaccinated, for Christ's sake, you moron.